Hey guys and girls, in this video I'll be inspecting the hubs, installing marine seals and adjusting the wheel bearings on my 7x4 box trailer. Starting with the opposite wheel chocked, I lift this side of the trailer with a bottle jack positioned under the leaf spring. Removing the wheel exposes the hub and I dislodge the dust cap with a few downward strikes from a hammer. Next I straighten the bent over split or cotter pin with pliers and remove with a few taps from the hammer. Using a 300mm or 12-inch shifter, I remove the castle or adjusting nut, leaving the hub loose on the axle. Then I remove the washer and outer bearing or cone. The hub is slid off the spindle while retaining the hub or grease seal and inner bearing. The outer race or bearing cup has no discoloration or visible wear, so I move on to the inner bearing and race. To remove the grease seal without damaging it, I place the hub onto some timber blocks and use this metal punch to strike the back of the inner race through the hub. Careful alternating strikes drive the inner components out of the hub. The seal, bearing and race can now be inspected for wear and damage. The bearing cup has visible discoloration and I feel grooves worn into the tapered surface when I run my thumb across it. With the hub torn down, I clean it with degreaser, rags and a small wire brush. Pulling a rag or alternatively paper towels through the hub will remove the majority of the old grease. The wire brush removes any debris or leftover grease. A clean rag and brake cleaner leave the hub free from any contaminants. When cleaning the axle, I focus on the lip the hub seal will sit against and the tapered spindle the bearings will ride on. Now using a grinder, I make relief cuts in the most worn inner and outer race. These will be used during the assembly process. This is an ARC marine bearing kit. It contains a marine hub seal, larger inner bearing and race, smaller outer bearing and race, and split or cotter pin. With the tapered side facing outwards, I begin the assembly process by tapping the outer race into position, then alternating strikes drive it evenly into the hub. Once flush with the opening, I use the old cut race to drive the new cup into the hub until it is seated hard against the lip. The relief cut in the old bearing race allows it to be removed with minimal effort. The inner race sits further into the hub, so once flushed, I use a steel punch and alternating strikes to the wider edge of the old cup to carefully drive the new race into the lip. To purchase new parts, I use the numbers off the back of the old inner and outer bearings. Part numbers will want off the old inner races, so I use them to match the hub bore diameter, and the inside opening of the old grease seal gave me the axle diameter. The new marine seal has a double lip and is designed to remain in place on the axle while the hub rotates around it. It is recommended to use number 2 lithium complex marine grease, as this combination prevents fresh or salt water flushing out the bearing grease and causing rust. My box trailer will not be submerged in water, so I'm using number 2 lithium complex high temp bearing grease. I begin to pack the smaller outer bearing by repeatedly pushing the wider end of the cage into a pile of grease and scraping along my palm. This forces it past the needles or rollers and out the narrow end of the cage. The larger inner bearing is packed with grease as I work my way around the cage, forcing it to squeeze out the top of the cone until the rollers are completely lubricated. The hub seal also requires grease in between the two rubber lips to work effectively. If they are in good condition with minimal wear, the old bearings and races can be reused but must be paired as they were originally due to preload. Now I pack the cavity between the races with grease and place the inner bearing into the hub. The marine seal housing is tapped into place, then using a block of timber, I drive it evenly into the hub. If in good condition with a flexible rubber lip, the old hub seal can be reinstalled using the same method. With the axle spindle lubricated, I apply grease to the stainless housing and place the marine seal into the hub. Next I slide the hub assembly onto the spindle, making sure the seal sits against the lip on the axle. The outer bearing is placed into the hub, along with the flat washer. Now I tighten the retaining or castle nut onto the spindle by hand. I tighten the nut with the shifter while rotating the hub, then loosen 1/4 of a turn. This centers the bearings. After spinning the hub multiple times in each direction, I tighten firmly, then back off 1/4 turn. While I rotate the hub, I am wearing the bearings into the races, as all new bearings require preload. I repeat the process, then fit the wheel, tightening the lug nuts in a star pattern. I spin the wheel both directions, checking for free play. Once adjusted, I push in and out with my hands, then foot and upper body checking for movement. There is too much rotational and in and out bearing play, so I tighten the adjusting nut and check for wheel movement. It is crucial the bearings are not too tight or loose, so I make a final adjustment, leaving the hub with the minimal amount of free play possible. I insert the split pin through the castle nut and spindle with some slight movement from the shifter. With the pin located in a checkout, I bend the other end against the spindle, locking the assembly in place. It is only possible to test bearing play with the wheel lifted off the ground, so after a final check, I move on. Before the dust cap is installed, I half fill it with grease, then tap it into the hub while rotating the wheel. Finally, I remove the bottle jack, and that's a wrap for the trailer hubs. If you have any questions, leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you later.